Hundreds of people are doing unbelievable things in our country, and sometimes they do it under a blanket almost, undercover.
At his peak, Cliff Richard was more than just a star, he was a symbol. For decades, he represented joy, decency, and consistency in British entertainment.
Something to do with theatrical, it depends on how your back is. I used to have trouble with the lower part of my back.
While trends came and went, he seemed untouchable, a man whose reputation was as polished as his performances. But even the most carefully built image can be shaken. And in a matter of hours, everything he had spent a lifetime creating came crashing down. What followed wasn't just a scandal, it was a deeply personal battle that nearly broke him. The rise of a legend. Long before the controversy, Cliff Richard's story was one of extraordinary success. Often described as Britain's answer to Elvis Presley, he built a career that few could match. With over 250 million records sold worldwide and 68 top 10 singles in the UK charts, his voice became a constant presence across generations. He was born in 1940 in British India, into a family that would soon face upheaval. When India gained independence in 1947, his family returned to England, leaving behind their relatively comfortable life. What they found instead was hardship, tight finances, shared bedrooms, and simple meals of tea and sugar on toast just to get by. Despite the struggles, music found him early. Inspired by American rock and roll, Cliff picked up a guitar as a teenager and never looked back. His breakthrough came in 1958 at Abbey Road Studios with the song Move It, a track that helped define British rock and roll. From that moment on, success came rapidly. Hits stacked up. Awards followed. And eventually, he was knighted, becoming Sir Cliff Richard. But beneath the polished image, there was always a quieter, more complicated reality. The scandal that changed everything. In August 2014, everything shifted. While on holiday in Portugal, Cliff turned on the television and witnessed something surreal: police officers searching his home. The footage was being broadcast live, captured by a helicopter hovering overhead. He had no warning. No prior notice. He learned about it at the same time as the public. The investigation stemmed from an allegation dating back decades. Though he immediately denied it, the damage was already unfolding in real time. The case was tied to wider investigations following the Jimmy Savile scandal, which meant heightened public sensitivity and intense media scrutiny. The situation escalated further when it was revealed that BBC had been tipped off about the police raid in advance. Cameras were ready. The broadcast was planned. And the result was a spectacle that made Cliff appear guilty before any evidence had been tested. For a man whose entire career was built on a clean, family-friendly image, the impact was devastating. Cleared, but not untouched. For nearly 2 years, the investigation hung over his life. Despite his consistent denials, the uncertainty lingered. Finally, in June 2016, the Crown Prosecution Service announced there was insufficient evidence to bring charges. Cliff Richard was never arrested. Never charged. Legally, he was completely cleared. But public perception doesn't always follow legal outcomes. The helicopter footage had already circled the world. The headlines had already been written. And the damage to his reputation couldn't simply be undone. Determined to fight back, Cliff took legal action. In 2018, a high court ruled in his favor, stating that the BBC had violated his privacy in a serious and sensationalist way. He was awarded substantial damages, and the case became a landmark moment in discussions about media ethics and privacy. But even with a legal victory, the emotional toll remained. The personal cost. The stress of the ordeal left visible scars. Cliff lost weight rapidly. He developed shingles, a painful condition often triggered by extreme stress. Sleep became difficult. Anxiety took over. At one point, he feared he might suffer a heart attack or stroke. Perhaps most unsettling was how he began to see himself. He admitted that sometimes he would look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. The home that had been searched on live television no longer felt like home. He described it as contaminated and never returned to live there again. For a man who had spent decades in the public eye, he began to withdraw. Interviews became rare. Appearances slowed. The spotlight, once his comfort zone, became something he wanted to avoid. A life of quiet loneliness. While his professional life had been extraordinary, his personal life followed a very different path. Cliff Richard never married. He never had children. For years, he insisted this was a conscious choice. His faith, his career, and his desire for independence all played a role in that decision. But with time, his perspective softened. He admitted that while he never lacked romance or companionship, he sometimes wondered what it would have been like to have a family. Not for the fame or the spotlight, but for the quiet moments. The everyday presence of someone who stays when the crowd disappears. There were relationships along the way. He once spoke openly about his love for Olivia Newton-John, though their timing never aligned. They remained close friends throughout her life. Still, none of those connections led to a lasting partnership. And now, in later years, the silence he returns to after performances carries a different weight. Facing age and health challenges. At 85, Cliff Richard continues to live much as he always has, privately and independently. But time, as it does for everyone, has begun to take its toll. In 2024, a routine medical check ahead of a tour revealed prostate cancer. Thankfully, it was caught early and had not spread. By late 2025, he announced that the cancer was gone for now. But even in that moment, there was caution rather than celebration. He understood that nothing is ever guaranteed. On stage, the changes are noticeable. His movements are slower. His speaking voice is more fragile. Yet, remarkably, his singing voice remains strong, a reminder of the talent that defined his life. He continues to perform, not because it's easy, but because it's part of who he is. He has made a clear distinction between retiring and simply stopping. Retirement feels final. Stopping, on the other hand, leaves the door open. And for Cliff Richard, that door is not one he's ready to close. The legacy of a survivor. Cliff Richard's story is no longer just about fame, chart-topping success, or the glitter of a decades-long career. It has evolved into something far deeper. It is now a story of endurance, resilience, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going when everything you've built is tested. Over the years, he has faced moments that could have ended everything. A devastating public scandal, relentless media scrutiny, drawn-out legal battles, and serious health challenges, each one capable of breaking even the strongest individuals. And yet, through it all, he continues to stand. Not untouched, not unchanged, but undeniably unbroken. The man who once dominated the entertainment industry, commanding massive audiences and defining generations of music, now lives a very different life. The spotlight that once followed his every move has softened. The roar of the crowd has given way to quieter moments of reflection. But those moments carry weight, filled with memories of triumph, pain, and everything in between. He performs when he can, not out of obligation, but because music is still a part of who he is. And when he's not on stage, he reflects on the life he's lived, the battles he's fought, and the legacy he's built. Cliff Richard's journey is a reminder that a life lived in the public eye is never as simple as it appears. Behind the fame lies sacrifice. Behind the success lies struggle. And behind the image the world sees is a man who has endured more than most will ever know. In the end, his story isn't just about what he achieved, it's about what he survived, and the strength it took to keep going when the world was watching. Do you think Cliff Richard should retire, or continue performing as long as he can? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Prestige Buzz, and hit the bell notification so you never miss an update.